Well, good morning and welcome to the press conference to announce the Lights On program here in the city of Asheville. This is an exciting time, and it's going to help some folks in our community and the relationship between the police and the folks on the road and the efforts that we can help with this excellent program. I want to tell you about the folks we have on stage here right behind me here. We've got Chief David Zack, Chief of Police, Asheville Police Department, Mr. Sherman Patterson, Vice President of Lights On, Vice Mayor Sheneika Smith, City of Asheville, and Marcus Kirkman, Training Consultant with Equity and Inclusion, City of Asheville. I'm Bill Davis, the Public Information Officer for the Asheville Police Department. On November 17, 2021, Chief David Zack proposed a new initiative at the City of Asheville's public safety meeting aimed at building goodwill between the community and the Asheville Police Department. Through the Lights On program, officers could hand out vouchers during some traffic stops to motorists who have defective lighting instead of just writing a citation. The voucher provides up to $250 to the operator of the vehicle to get their equipment fixed at participating auto repair shops. Such repairs could be broken tail lights, turn signals, or headlight, and can often cause a financial burden on those drivers having to choose between making that repair and maybe buying groceries for their families. The repairs through the Lights On voucher are at no cost to the car owner. After the repair shop completes the service, they send an invoice to the Lights On for reimbursement within 5 to 7 days. A partnership and agreement was recently made with an auto repair facility here in the City of Asheville, Jack Smith's Transmission and Automotive, and the City of Asheville and the Asheville Police Department. And we are now ready to move forward with implementing the Lights On program. Happy to announce that Asheville is the first city in the state of North Carolina to partner with Lights On. And with that, Chief David Zack.
Thank you, Bill. I first learned of the Lights On program from a former colleague of mine in New York State, Chief Joe Sinaga of the Saugerties, New York Police Department, and he spoke very highly of the program and kind of educated me on how it all works. My first conversation with Sherman Patterson was actually in August of last year. So it just kind of gives you an idea how an idea goes from start to finish, and it takes an awful long time sometimes to implement a program. So we're very excited that we're finally at the stage where we can launch, obviously with the hope and the primary goal of bringing our community, the police department, and our business community closer together and working towards solutions. It's important, I think, to remember that the future success of this program will largely depend on private donation, not on taxpayer dollars. I'd like to thank Sherman Patterson for his leadership in the development of Lights On. Mr. Patterson is also a leader in his own community, where he began the Lead by Example program, a mission to reduce gun violence by working with young men to become leaders in dismantling the gun culture in their neighborhoods. Mr. Patterson is also a 21-year veteran in the U.S. Army, so thank you for your service. A huge thank you must also go out to Marcus Kirkman from our Equity and Inclusion Department. Without Marcus's help, this idea never would have got to the finish line. He has been instrumental in seeing this program through. We're awful busy at the Asheville Police Department. There's a lot going on, and I really needed assistance in getting this going. And when Marcus came to Asheville, I think that this was the first thing we discussed, and he just worked diligently and got us to the finish line on this project. And last but not least, we need to thank Tom Warwick, owner of Jack Smith's Transmission and Automotive Service, for agreeing to partner with APD and Lights On. We needed our business community to step up, and Mr. Warwick did just that. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Sherman Patterson, Program Director for Lights On. Sherman?
Good morning. It's great to be here in Asheville. The last time I was here was about 35 years ago, and that was for the U.S. Army. We had a conference up here. This December will be 20 years since I've been retired. Time flies. Chief Zack, Assistant Mayor Smith, Marcus, we couldn't do this without you, and we at Lights On from Minnesota, we are very excited. We're nationwide now. We went nationwide about 15 months ago. We thought we would be at this capacity about 2 to 3 years from now, but it's just taken off. So that shows you the impact that it's having, and for the motorists and also for law enforcement. The communication director and chief said a lot about lights on, but I'm just going to cover a few things about how impactful it is. It's outcome oriented, it's transparent, and it's simple. And we really base lights on that because we're helping our community, and everyone is in this community. So I'm gonna put on my cheaters, just bear with me. Lights On is an innovative community-driven program that partners with law enforcement and auto service providers to replace tickets with repair vouchers, free of charge. Imagine that mother or that parent, you just never know their situation when they're stopped. They see those lights and they're stopped. The anxiety goes up for that individual, the motorist. But do realize the anxiety goes up for our law enforcement partners also. So when that stop happens and when that law enforcement person, when they run that check and come back, and that motorist is looking and saying, okay, here it goes. And he or she says, here's this voucher to get your light fixed for a broken tail light, headlight, or turn signal. And then that wow effect happens. Instead of the anxiety, it comes down on both sides. The conversation starts. It's genuine. Instead of people pulling out cell phones and saying, what are you doing? They're asking for fist pumps and they're taking pictures with them. We have those testimonials. We see it nationwide. And this is change, and it makes a difference. Because if you keep poking the bear, what happens? The bear wakes up and then it bites you. So we are one community and we're moving forward. I can go on and on with all of these testimonies, but we at Lights On, we understand that we don't want a cancer to metastasize. We want to solve that. We are not the be-all solution, but we are it's a tool for your tool belt for your officers in this community, in all communities. I've experienced it, I've seen it in Minneapolis, I've seen it in Minnesota, I've seen it in other communities around the nation. But we are here to stay, and we are excited that Asheville, North Carolina is the first in North Carolina to bring this program to you. So I'm gonna keep this short, and I'll be able to take questions from you one-on-one and so forth. So Mayor, Assistant Mayor, Marcus, Chief, thank you.
Thank you all for being here this morning. Today we are taking another step towards strengthening our community and the trust that it is intended to build. By putting into action yet another measure of reform, we move closer in faith towards each other that would open up a deeper level of synergy and collaboration that is necessary for strong community policing practices. Before Chief Zack came on board, even before Deborah Campbell, and even before I was elected, there was a lot of community discussion led by the NAACP, Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and a lot of local activists about the disparities in traffic stops. From those discussions, very heated debates, and a lot of back and forth, some demands surfaced. The call for consent to search, de-emphasizing regulatory stops, and the call for individual officer traffic stop data. It was later determined that if an officer wants to search a motorist but does not have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to believe a crime has been committed, the officer must get written consent also. The reason for starting a consent search cannot be a past criminal record or suspicious behavior, and low-level regulatory stops of motor vehicles for such problems as expired tags and improper equipment would be deprioritized. In 2018, Council then gave support for these three policies and authorized the work to be put in place for these policies to be put in practice in the name of social justice, racial justice, and to help improve community relations between officers and citizens. Today, we take pleasure in being a part of this and being at the forefront of this next reform. It is going to be helpful to community members and strengthening leadership, police, and citizen relations. This community is overdue for this type of innovation and this type of planning. And I would like to extend thank you to Chief Zack for coming on board and taking action. Thank you, Sherman, for all that you have done in your community, the impact it has on our nation, and bringing that action here. Thank you for coming on board, very early and putting your hands to the plow so that we can stand here today in celebration. Thank you.
Good morning to everyone. On behalf of our city manager, Deborah Campbell, on behalf of our mayor, Esther Meinhammer, on behalf of our vice mayor, Sheneika Smith, who is present with us, and on behalf of our police chief, David Zack, our leadership, our City of Asheville staff, our heroes and heroines who show up every single day to make Asheville a beautiful place to work, live, and thrive. We want to say thank you, Mr. Sherman Patterson, for you and the Lights On program and the work that you're doing around the country. I'd like to say that we don't have to look far to look around our world and our country and our communities right now to see divisiveness, to see tragedies, and to see pain. But today we're here because this is absolutely a remarkable moment to celebrate. It is a moment that we all we yearn for in these moments of challenge in our world. We look for those bright moments where the light shines through. And us standing here today says that the lights are on in our city of Asheville, and we're excited about that. The vouchers that we will be extending to our citizens are more than a piece of paper. It is a reminder of three things. Those three things are humanity, our commitment, and relationship. Those vouchers are a symbol of our commitment to the people that we care about, that we care for, and that who we serve every day. These vouchers are a reminder of a shared humanity, of the impact that we can have on an individual's life when we extend kindness and thoughtfulness. And they are a symbol of relationship, of establishing a meaningful relationship with our community. So we celebrate this moment, we're excited about it. We thank you all for everything that you do. And our lights are on here in Asheville.
And with that, any questions for the folks up here?
Yeah, I guess my first question is, when does this officially go into effect? Is it today? Will the officers start issuing or handing these out today?
No, we still have some final logistical things to work out, but a matter of weeks.
Okay. And then will each officer have one of these vouchers, or is it just certain officers that are going to be able to do that?
They will be in the hands of all officers.
And then I see on the vouchers here, it says 14 days where it will expire. What happens after that 14 days? Are you guys tracking who is getting these vouchers, or can you kind of explain how that process will work?
We asked that, in reference to the 14 days, we asked that the police departments, they track it through their CAS system, because when the vouchers are redeemed and go to the auto centers, they return those to us, and we share that data with them, how much are redeemed and how many are handed out, because you want data to measure that. And then we do a survey also, our survey shows from a monkey survey that 98.5% of the recipients, they were very satisfied with the interaction with law enforcement. But to your question about the 14 days, the motorist has to be accountable and responsible, because we don't want someone to hold on to a voucher for 2, 3, or 4 months. But we do understand that it may take maybe 20 days or whatever because of work or because of the situations, and that comes to us, and we will acknowledge that voucher. But for someone to bring it back 6 months and tell an officer, I received this 6 months ago, that's not going to work, because you're taking advantage or you're neglecting something that's been given to you, and you should go. If I had gotten a voucher, I'm running to that place to get it fixed. So yeah, that's how that works.
And then, Chief Zack, sorry, another question. So, hang on, I had it written down. I just lost my train of thought here. Oh, these types of calls where you're, people with taillights out and things like that. How often is it that your officers would pull someone over for this? Is this something that you all kind of pull people over for every day, or do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, equipment violations are a daily occurrence. So this is something we encounter frequently. And of course, one of our primary objectives is to keep our roadways safe. So, that's part of our proactive enforcement effort. It is something that we do every single day. So I think there's a possibility for this program to be very impactful in improving relations. I say this to our officers all the time. I can stand up here, I can put any program in place, I can give 1,000 speeches, do 100 interviews. It's not going to mean anything if the encounter on the street every day is not a positive one. And we stress that all the time. Every call you go on, every car stop you make, every citizen encounter you have, whether it's just taking a report, leaves an impact. And that's what's most important, is those daily encounters. And as those multiply, the community perception changes. So I think this is just another step in that direction and in that central theme of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Yeah, sure. Hi. So I just kind of wanted to ask, with this being the first in North Carolina, what do you hope to see in the future? Do you hope that kind of Asheville is an inspiration to other surrounding communities, surrounding cities? I guess what are your biggest goals in the expansion of the program?
Wow, great question. We see this as Asheville being the launch, being at the forefront of the leader, and we're looking at expanding to North Carolina. As I said, we went nationally about 15 months ago, and now we're in 14 other states, and we look to cover the continental United States because Lights On is here to stay. As I said, it's a piece of the pie. It's not the be-all answer, but it's a big part of the answer, and it's so simple, it's so transparent that it helps. The main goal is for that interaction, because the three-pronged approach, that interaction with law enforcement, that communication, then there's a public safety issue, because if you have a blown headlight, tail light, etc., that can cause severe, someone can get hurt or even killed. But at the same time, from a socio-economical standpoint, we're helping those who really need to get that fixed. You never know their situation. I'll give you one example. We had a motorist who had a high-end car, and he received a voucher. Because we're not biased, everyone gets a voucher, can get a voucher. It's the officer's call. It's their call. But this individual went into the auto center and presented the voucher, and the tech said, "Okay, we'll be right with you." And he says, "No, I'll pay to get my light fixed. I just wanted to validate to see if this program was real." And he said, "This is amazing. I'm going to tell all of my friends within his environment about this program." So that tells you how it's spreading. It's spreading within the community, within law enforcement. It's a win-win-win for everyone. Why would you not want to do this? It's hurting no one. It's helping people. It's helping us from an economical standpoint, but more so from a mental. It's a healing. It's helping to heal, and we need that right now. A big part of this is about healing, because we are one. We have to be one. Divided we fall, but together we will continue to progress.
So I could just follow up, at least from the police department perspective. At APD, we're not trying to be first in anything. What we want to be is the best. And so what we're constantly doing is looking for what's happening across the country. We're looking and seeking innovation, whether it's in program, whether it's in training, whether it's in leadership. We don't want to be first, we want to be the best. So bringing Lights On, it's just an interesting story how the guy who moved to North Carolina and knew a guy in New York who hooked him up with a guy in Minnesota to bring a great idea to fruition. So that's kind of a cool thing. And it's just the power of networking and communication that we're able to pull something like this off. But yeah, we're not trying to, lead the way for the nation. Obviously, if we're successful in certain areas, that's great. But we just want to provide the best service that we can for the city of Asheville, and I think this is just hopefully one small step towards that.
Anything else? Well, with that, we thank our media partners for being here. We thank Mr. Kirkman, Vice Mayor, Chief Zack, Mr. Patterson, for this Lights On program. We do have some administrative. We have some B-roll of Jack Smith's Automotive. We'll be sending you as a link to that so you can have some of the B-roll. I understand they're closed this week, but Mr. Dan here from the City of Asheville has provided, we'll give you that link as well. Again, without further ado, if you need some one-on-ones, that's the end of the press conference. Thank you so much.